What you are about to hear is real. It has not been edited or enhanced. It is the voice of Ruth Baxter. This voice was recorded in August 2003. Ruth Baxter died in 1987. Electronic voice phenomenon, EVP, is the process by which the dead, through sound and image, communicate with the living through the static and white noise of modern electronic devices. What we all hope to be true is in fact possible. Our loved ones can reach us.
Miss CLIPLESS, do you want to hear your wife?
But if they can come through, who else can come through?
It is one thing to contact the dead. It is another thing to meddle, and you are meddling. Oh my God.
The subject of some movies is so disturbing that those who experience them will never be the same again.
No!
White noise.
Yeah, $10 says none of what they told you was absolutely true, but yeah, the trailer pretty much gives you some of what the plot of the movie is. The title refers to EVP, electronic voice phenomena, or anonymous voice-like sounds, which some believe to be from the other side, interpreted as spirit voices, are found on electronic audio readings. And Michael Keaton plays a man who, he decides to enter this, to expand on this more, to not only hear his wife again, but also to find out how far he can go into this. And yeah, the movie really is nothing that great. In fact, it got terrible reviews when it came out. It was mostly seen by a lot of people as a film that was not a successful movie by any means necessary. However, this movie is significant for one piece of information that will be eventually coming in the years to come at the start of every year. See, White Noise is surprising box office success for a movie released on the first weekend after New Year's Day was seen as a shock, because this is usually the winter dumping months. This is usually the worst weekend for new releases, because this is the weekend when studios basically throw out the worst movies possible. And we've talked about the worst January movies in the past, and we're going to certainly get into more January bad movies in the next couple of years to come. But the success of this movie, the fact that this film made as much as it did, because it was a big hit when it came out, and it led studios to essentially reassess their releasing strategies for horror films. The chairman of Universal, about 8 years after this, said, "The first weekend in January used to be a non-starter for people. We had this little movie called White Noise that did business, and that has been a place where movies that tend to operate." And yeah, this was a poorly reviewed film by critics, but it found a way to make significant money, and a quality film in that genre could do even better, studios realized. And so this eventually led to other big movies, which notably began with, of all things, Cloverfield, with the help of a viral marketing campaign. That movie went on to become a big hit until Ride Along surpassed it as the highest grossing January opening weekend of all time. The Devil Inside was also a big hit, which, yeah, it was negatively panned by critics and audiences, but it opened up on the first weekend of the year, and there's nothing to come out to really combat it. So that's how that movie made a lot of money. And yeah, so you can thank White Noise for the fact that we've had the opening weekend of January have a movie that surprisingly does much better than anybody could have imagined. And even this very day, we still had that. This past year, we just had Night Swim that did that. Even though the movie is complete and utter garbage, people went to go see it. It was a hit. And yeah, you can thank White Noise for that. And yeah, like I said, it's a movie we've seen done to death before. It's a film that's literally the equivalent of, it really is one of the earliest movies that try to use this viral marketing idea. You see the website on there for this EVP thing, and like I said, none of that really was actually something that I'm pretty sure was made to prove that this actually happens or not. Just made to sell the movie. And it did sell the film, and it was a huge hit when it came out. I mean, it made 9 times back its budget, which was $10 million. It brought in $90 million worldwide, which was unbelievable for a movie of this caliber. And, yeah, the movie is pretty forgettable itself, but its impact has been felt ever since this movie came out. So, yeah, 20 years later, you can thank this movie for the way that Hollywood studios decide to open a big horror movie on the first weekend of the year, and it's paid off in dividends. So, yeah, thank you, White Noise, you terrible, terrible movie. Excuse me. But anyway, now that we have that out of the way, time to... The fan keeps getting in the way. Time to head into the leftovers, and let's start off with the first film we have here, The Lion King 1.5.
Wait, hold on a second. 3? What's with the 3? No, the 3 has got to go. Timon, you can't use 2. There's already been a 2. You got a point there, big fella. It's not a sequel anyway. Yeah, more like a behind-the-scene crew. What, a who crew? Oh, you know, an in-between crew. That's it. Humbug, my muse. It's genius. There. Now this title's a knockout.
So, as you can tell from the trailer there, the movie is essentially The Lion King, except from Timon and Pumbaa's point of view. They start to watch the original Lion King movie, but Timon keeps insisting to fast forward to when they come in because they weren't seen in the beginning of the story, or anywhere until halfway through. But Pumbaa suggests telling the audience their story, which begins before Simba's journey begins. And through this we meet Timon's family, his Uncle Max, and his mother, both played by Jerry Stiller and Julie Kavner. Discover why he left his meerkat colony. We learn where he learned Hakuna Matata, and how he meets Pumbaa, and the perils they encounter while searching for their dream home. So, it's essentially The Lion King's equivalent to the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. I mean, it's a movie where, that's a play, of course, where they take the characters, the 2 main characters there, and put them in every major event that happens in Hamlet. And they do a pretty good job representing that with The Lion King and Timon and Pumbaa. They find a really funny and clever way to put these 2 characters into every scene of The Lion King without creating a whole lot of major plot holes, and manages to create something pretty impressive in terms of logistical ways of storytelling. Like they show you, like they're in a scene where Scar is doing the Be Prepared sequence. They're in the scene with the wildebeest. There's a ton of moments in the movie where they're all over the place, and you would have never guessed it. And the way that they did it was actually really, really clever, and you have to give them a lot of credit for that. Plus, they got a lot of the main cast back from the last movie too. I mean, not only do you have the new characters. But you also have Nathan Lane, Ernie Sabella back, Robert Guillaume, Moira Kelly. I think Matthew Broderick also came back too for this, and there's a lot of other ones too that came back. A lot of Whoopi Goldberg came back for this one. There's a lot of people that came back from the original Lion King to do this movie, and you really could tell that Disney was putting a lot more effort into the direct-to-video movies, because this one has some high-quality animation. I mean, some good animation that you would swear this would work well in the theater. And I think it was actually, if I'm not mistaken, was actually put into some select theaters. But don't quote me on that. I could have sworn that there was something, that it was one of these Disney direct-to-video movies we're going to get through here. But yeah, the animation quality is getting a whole lot better on these movies, and it started with this one right here, The Lion King 1.5. It's definitely very enjoyable, and I honestly think it's much more worth checking out, much more than the actual Lion King 2 was. I mean, yeah, I think this is actually the better follow-up film to The Lion King than Simba's Pride was, but then again, that's just my personal take on it. So that's The Lion King 1.5. On to the next movie we have here. Mickey, Donald, and Goofy are the 3 Musketeers.
On Disney DVD and video, Walt Disney Pictures proudly presents Mickey, Donald, and Goofy in an all-new motion picture event, The 3 Musketeers.
I want bodyguards.
Oh, have I got the men for you?
Oh, boy.
Oh, if you think you can do, get some derriere. You know that you're a musketeer, you see so fearsome. Musketeers, all for one and one for all. All for one, hey! All for one and one for all. All for one, hey! All for one and one for all. And all for one and one for all. And all for one and all.
Premiering only on Disney DVD and video. Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, starring in The 3 Musketeers. Summer 2004.
Oh, for fun?
And Bob for all.
Yeah, it's a little corny, and yeah, this is clearly intended for kids. But honestly, once we get to the other Mickey Mouse movie of 2004, you're going to look back on this and think, yeah, this was probably the better of the two movies. But this is Mickey, Donald, Goofy, the Three Musketeers, which I think this is actually the first real movie with a storyline, a full-length storyline, not an anthology film, not something like Fun or Fancy Free or even Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas or Twice Upon a Christmas. That's a straightforward feature-length Mickey Mouse movie. I could be wrong on that. I'd have to double-check again, but I'm pretty sure this is actually the first one, and actually one of the only ones, if I'm not mistaken. But this is Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, the Three Musketeers. And as you can tell, the story, I think, is pretty much right up what you think it is. It's basically a musical animated comedy film adaptation of the classic story of the Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas, which features Mickey, Donald, and Goofy as the title characters. I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't just call it the Three Mouseketeers, because I feel like that maybe they felt like it would be way too easy to call that. But yeah, there's nothing really much more in terms of a story that's you can add to this in general. But really the biggest problem I think the movie has in general is that it really doesn't have anything to it that kind of makes it stand out on its own. There's a couple of things that's very positive about the movie. You know, I really like the animation style here. I really do like how the animation style of this is very reminiscent of the classic Disney cartoon style of the 40s and 50s, and even a little bit of the 1990 Prince and the Pauper, too. They do that kind of similar style of animation here, but there's a lot of homages to, like, the classic Disney animation, which I gotta give them a lot of credit for. It's interesting that this is also Donovan Cook, who also did Return to Neverland for Disney, but is most notable as the man who did Two Stupid Dogs. And I'll give him a lot of credit for the animation style of the film. It's definitely something very refreshing, very different, and very kind of cool to see again in a modern setting. And it's really the strongest element of the whole movie in general. But other than that, it's fine for what it is. It's a harmless movie. It's clearly intended for little kids, but there's nothing bad about it at all. It's very inoffensive. It's harmless. It's got effort put into it. It's just not made for an older audience like myself. I think more kids will get into this one, but not the adults. But it's fine for what it is. It's Mickey, Donald, and Goofy doing what they do best with the Three Musketeers as the background of the storyline. I mean, really, there's not much more I can really add to this one that hasn't already been said. So, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Lars von Trier's, what a contrast to what we just looked at, Lars von Trier's latest film, Nicole Kidman in Dogville.
Douglas got everything you ever dreamed of.
Not much there for that trailer, but the story of this is that you have a parable that's used as an extremely minimal, stage-like set to tell the story of Grace Mulligan, played by Nicole Kidman, a woman hiding from mobsters who arrives in the small mountain town of Dogville, Colorado, and is provided refuge in return for physical labor. And it's a very much a film that is very much what you expect from Lars von Trier. Very art-housey, very pretentious, very experimental, very avant-garde, which some people like, some people don't like so much. I, for one, am kind of on the mend about it. I'm not really much of a big Lars von Trier fan in general. And I watched the movie, and I'm just kind of like, that's about what I expected it to be. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either. I'm just kind of like, it's fine. I mean, it's just mediocre at best, in my opinion. The acting overall is very good. Not only do you have Nicole Kidman, but you have the cast that also includes Lauren Bacall, Paul Bettany, Chloe Sevigny, Stellan Skarsgård, Udo Kier, Ben Gazzara, Patricia Clarkson, James Caan, John Hurt doing the narration for it. It's an overall intriguing idea in general. It's kind of an anthology film with all the characters they have, but except that not probably the best way that I would have liked to have seen them done it. But like I said, it's not a bad movie by any means necessary. It's just a film that's just kind of like, I really don't have that deep emotional feeling towards it. I didn't really love it. I didn't really hate it. I just thought it was mostly okay for what it was. Kind of in the middle. It's a movie that, honestly, I probably would never want to watch again, honestly. But I'm glad I saw it once, so gotta give her that. Gotta give her credit for credit's due. That's what I would try to say. But so with that said, moving on to the next movie here. Robin Williams in an underrated film you probably never even heard of called The Final Cut. So in this movie, it takes place in a setting where brain implants make it possible to record the sight and sound of entire lives. Robin Williams plays a professional who specializes in editing the memories of unsavory people into uncritical memorials that they are played at their funerals. So it's basically a sci-fi thriller. And one of Robin Williams. It definitely is one of Robin Williams' more underrated movies. It has a lot of cool concepts overall to work with here. I think the cast overall is really good. Mira Sorvino, Jim Caviezel, this director Omar Naim. I don't think I've ever seen any of his other films before. I think this might be the only film he's ever directed. Let's see. He's done stuff like Dead Awake, which from this poster I see right here looks like a bad Twilight knockoff. But it's also he also did Becoming, 2 films I've never even heard of. So this is the only thing that I know him that he's done. I know that he's done, but I knew it because Robin Williams was in it, and yeah. It's actually kind of a little underrated film. Not everything about it works. Sometimes the story can get a little too much for its own good in general. But the film overall, I think, is a very cool concept. I like a lot of the ideas they're trying to go for here. The ending kind of doesn't stick the landing as much as I think they want to, but it definitely is a film that definitely deserves to be seen. It's definitely one of Robin Williams' more underrated films in general. And he made a couple of underrated little gems here we're going to get to in the next couple of years or so. So yeah, this is definitely one I'd recommend checking out. If you're looking for some good underrated Robin Williams stuff, definitely check out the Final Cut. So, moving on to the next movie. From the director of Bend It Like Beckham, we have Bride and Prejudice.
From the director of Bend It Like Beckham comes the year's most exuberant spectacle.
Oh my God!
It's hilarious and romantic.
Bring it on.
The most fun you'll have at the movies this year. Bride and Prejudice, rated PG-13, now playing.
So it's basically a Bollywood-style update of the classic Jane Austen story, Sense and Pride and Prejudice, in which Mrs. Bakshi is eager to find suitable husbands for her 4 unmarried daughters. When the rich single gentleman Barraj and Darcy come to visit, the Bakshis have high hopes. Through circumstance and bullish opinions, threaten to get in the way of their romance. One of the most notable things about the movie, as I mentioned before, it's directed by the same person that did Bend It Like Beckham, but it also features a pretty strong cast, including Aishwarya Rai, Martin Henderson, Naveen Andrews. This was right around the time when Lost was premiering. Indira Varma from Game of Thrones is in this movie. It's definitely got a lot of hurdles to cross because it's a movie that's literally coming after Bend It Like Beckham, which I thought was an incredible film. And this, it's good. It's really inventive. It's a really fun idea to do a Bollywood-style version of Pride and Prejudice, which I think it's done very well here for the most part. It does kind of go into predictable territory overall, and it kind of does things that kind of push it off for me to not consider it a really great film in general. But it's a good film nonetheless. I like a lot of the actors in here. I really like Aishwarya Rai. I think they do a very good job of creating a nice visual flair to it. And like I said, it's a really good, interesting idea to take the story of Pride and Prejudice and try to make a Bollywood film out of it. And I think for the most part, it does succeed very well. Certainly not a great film overall, but a film I do recommend checking out. If you saw Bend It Like Beckham, you're going to really like this one a lot. So let's go ahead and talk about that other Mickey Mouse movie that came out in 2004, and that is Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas.
You've loved them for years.
Come on, everybody! It's perfect!
You're gonna be great.
Now, see them in an all-new holiday adventure. Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas.
Hello,
Minnie, it's me.
this is Minnie Mouse. Leave me a message and have a Merry Christmas. This is definitely a problem.
There can only be one name for this dog. Want to hear it?
Please.
Murray.
Oh,
Murray.
yeah. You know, like Merry Christmas.
Oh, my head.
Now, I know what you're thinking, and yes, some of the jokes in this movie are absolutely horrible, and the trailer was not doing it any favors, but I don't think this is as bad as people make it out to be. Yeah, it's definitely not Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, but there's still things about it I really do enjoy about it. As you can see, just like with Once Upon a Christmas, it's an anthology film where you have 5 different stories going on here, including a mix of very short stories and very long stories. There's one story in particular where Minnie and Daisy are basically in an ice skating competition, and it's really about it. I mean, there's really not much more about that one. There's a longer story with Huey, Dewey, and Louie as they go to the North Pole to make sure they're not on the naughty list and try to put themselves on the nice list, so that they go in disguised as elves. And that one's pretty good. There's another one where Max and his father Goofy are celebrating the holidays with Max's girlfriend, who is not Roxanne, which some people have had a lot of problems with. It's definitely the weakest of the stories here. That one, Christmas Maximus, is what it's called. But yeah, that's the one that, yeah, I can agree with that one. That one's probably the weakest one of the entire bunch. You have another one where Donald all he wants to do for Christmas is just sit at home, relax, and have his cappuccino or it's something like it's a coffee. It's either coffee or he just wants to sit back and have hot chocolate is what I'm thinking of. Hot cocoa, jeez. Hot chocolate is what I'm thinking of, and Daisy and Huey, Dewey, and Louie want him to go to the mall and go see the Christmas displays and all that stuff, and he just doesn't want to do that. And the last story has Mickey and Pluto in it, and Pluto runs away from home after Mickey yells at him for ruining the Christmas decorations, and Pluto essentially finds himself at the North Pole, and he teams up with Santa's reindeer, and yeah, definitely, like I said before, this is definitely not as good as the first movie, and the first movie, I think, kept it simple. You had 3 simple stories where they were very good retellings of classic tales. Like the first one was The Gift of the Magi. Second one's kind of the equivalent of Yes, Virginia. There's a Santa Claus, and the third one is the third one's The Gift of the Magi. The first one is Christmas Every Day. This one just kind of goes all over the place. The animation overall is good. It's not great though. It's CG animation for a direct-to-video release, and this director, Matthew O'Callaghan, who's done a lot of animation you might be familiar with. He did the Itsy Bitsy Spider. He would do the Curious George movie after this. I don't think 3D animation was really his area of expertise at this point, but I could have sworn he's done some CG since then. Yeah, he has done some CG since then. He did motion capture work for A Christmas Carol. He worked on a lot of the Looney Tunes shorts that came out in the 2010s. He did stuff for Space Jam, A New Legacy, Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Road Trip. So, okay, maybe not everything he did was great, but he did get better as the time went on. And like I said, the film overall is good. It's an enjoyable film that you can pop on every time, or just wait for it to come on TV every year after Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. I mean, it's definitely not as good as Once Upon a Christmas, but it's a fine film for what it is. I think there's a lot more to it than people let on. It's an enjoyable film. It's a really fun film in general, and like I said, definitely not as good as the first one, but good enough nonetheless. I think it's one that definitely deserves a lot more to be watched at Christmas time, so definitely check it out this year. So with all that said, let's move on to the next movie, and that is Kangaroo Jack, Good Day, USA.
I said the hip-hop, the hippie to the hip-hop. I am Jackie Legs, and I like to say, Kangaroo Jack is back in a brand new animated adventure with his friends Charlie and Louis. If they think they're any braver, any tougher, any smarter, then they still don't know Jack. This is supposed to be an action piece. I'm not feeling it. It's an all-new full-length animated feature from the Kids Movie Collection. Kangaroo Jack, Good Day, USA.
AKA what the first Kangaroo Jack should have been, a freaking animated movie, and now whatever the hell that first one was. When poachers kidnap Jackie Legs from the Australian outback, his friends leap into action. Their attempts to save him route them back to the U.S. into the glitz and glamour of Las Vegas. So it's basically Kangaroo Jack in Las Vegas, pretty much. And like I said, it's definitely a step in the right direction from the first movie, but even then, it's not that great of a movie. I mean, Jeff Bennett, I think, does a very good job as a replacement for Kangaroo Jack. They do have a decent cast of people involved to replace the actors from the original film. Like, you have Josh Keaton as Charlie, Ahmed Best as Louie, Jar Jar Binks as the Anthony Anderson character, Kath Soucie as the character of Stella Ward playing in that movie. But, yeah, not a great film in general, but certainly a lot better than the live action, than the first movie was. A film that movie was just an insult to pretty much anyone's intelligence. This is a film that's at least trying to do something that's is better than the first movie, have something of value to the series, and wasn't perfect all the way through, but certainly will take this over the first one easily, so. Not much more to say about that one. That's Kangaroo Jack, Good Day, USA. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie I have on the list here. A film that I could have sworn came out in 2004, but I didn't see it on this list until I did the to that Wikipedia page, and that is a Kung Fu Hustle.
In a city where gangs rule, the people of one poor slum are doing everything they can to protect their neighborhood. Now, it's up to one hero to save them. From director and star Stephen Chow comes a martial arts comedy like you've never seen before. Kung Fu Hustle, rated R.
From the same guys that brought you Shaolin Soccer, this is the story that revolves around a murderous neighborhood gang, a poor village with unlikely heroes, and an aspiring gangster's fierce journey to find his true self. This is a movie that is essentially a mix of like retired actors famous for their 1970s Hong Kong action cinema, who were also in the film, and has been compared to contemporary and influential wuxia films like the recently released Hero and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, as well as Looney Tunes, because there's a lot of cartoony effects in this movie, and it was literally considered to be a live-action Looney Tunes movie in real life, and yeah, that's exactly what this movie is. It's pretty damn good. Like, if you love Shaolin Soccer, you're gonna love the hell out of this movie. It's a fun movie, a silly, goofy, fun, over-the-top film on a number of different levels. It's just a movie that knows exactly what it has to do to entertain you, and it's a really damn good movie, man. It's one of those ones where they tell you right from the get-go how good of a movie it is, and then you have to just watch it for yourself, and then you realize that, yeah, they knew exactly what they were talking about, because the film is really good. It's a very incredibly insane movie that just is zany, over-the-top fun. I think it did its job a whole lot better than something like Kung Pao Enter the Fist did. I think anybody could really tell you that, honestly, but yeah, this is definitely a film I really like a lot more than that film, as well as Shaolin Soccer. Even though I like Shaolin Soccer a lot, I could have sworn this was released in 2004, like May 2004, but every time I looked it up, it didn't say anything about it. I'm looking on here. It was released in September of 2004 at the Toronto Film Festival, and it didn't hit theaters until China got it on December 23rd of 2004, and it's actually going to hit the U.S. theaters on January 25th, 2005. So I'm not completely off on when the movie came out, but I could have sworn this was released in 2004, like early 2004, but oh well. But I talked about it, so definitely one you got to check out. Kung Fu Hustle. I can't recommend this one enough.
On the streets of Richmond, they fought to get by. Struggled to get out. And if they had anything left, they brought it to the court.
Your boys don't need practice, they need prison. Good afternoon, young man.
Are you some preacher, man? Because God ain't gonna do you no good in this neighborhood.
Leave the chair.
And I ain't scared of nobody, because I'll lay you out.
I don't think so.
Teachers ain't supposed to touch students.
I'm not a teacher. I'm the new basketball coach.
Motherfucker. I mean, really, Samuel L. Jackson's lines in this trailer could end with the phrase motherfucker, and you would listen to him right away, because the man is a master craftsman of saying that line. But this is the story that's based on a true story about Richmond High School basketball coach Ken Carter, who made headlines in 1999 for suspending his undefeated high school basketball team due to poor academic results. And you also see Rob Brown is in here, Ashanti, Robert Richard, and Channing Tatum in his first feature film, which is funny because in the trailer, as you go further, he actually gets a couple of lines and actually does appear in there too. So you can tell where he is right away, and that's pretty impressive for a movie like this. And the film itself is a really good movie. It's a really engaging film. You know, yeah, it's very much the typical sports movie formula that you could have here, but Samuel L. Jackson, man. Samuel L. Jackson, like, anytime you put him in something, he will always give 110%. Even if the role is not that great or the movie isn't that great, he'll usually give it his all, and we're going to see that a couple times over the next couple of months in 2005, because there's another movie he made with Eugene Levy called The Man, which is a terrible movie, but man, no pun intended, he does steal the show in that movie, because he's the only one that's actually trying to save that film. But in this movie, yeah, it's pretty much formulaic stuff we've seen done to death, but it's still very impressive stuff. You got a great director in Thomas Carter, who did Save the Last Dance and Metro. A really strong cast, including, as I mentioned, you know, Rob Brown, Shantae, Channing Tatum. You also have Adrienne Balone from High School... Cheetah Girls, the Cheetah Girls, excuse me. I was going to say, I thought she was in High School Musical, but no, she's in the Cheetah Girls. Octavia Spencer is in here in a very early role in her career. Just a really good movie, a really fun movie in general, a really good film, but benefiting with the strong performance by Samuel L. Jackson and this young cast he has to work with here. And yeah, it's very formulaic, but it's still a very solid and very entertaining film overall. And for the dumping month of January, that's the best thing you can ask for, is a movie that is really a damn good movie. And it is a really damn good movie that I do recommend checking out. It's definitely worth the watch, Coach Carter. So with that said, let's move on to our next movie, which is the film that's not quite good, but not quite bad either, and certainly better than the trailers would make you think it is. It's Racing Stripes.
For more than 250 years, Kentucky has defined the world of horse racing.
Here they go.
A sport rich in tradition, where fortunes revolve around the breeding and training of the perfect racing animal. But no matter how much money or effort is spent on this eternal quest for speed, there are no sure things.
Next January. For anyone who's ever believed in the dark horse.
Oh, it's anybody's race right now.
Cheered for the long shot.
Here they come, riding pole position.
And rooted for the underdog.
Rounding the turn and bearing down the home stretch.
All bets are off.
I don't believe it. Now you've never seen anything like this. What an incredible burst of speed. Whoa, there goes a zebra. That ain't a zebra, man. You gotta get your eyes checked.
I ain't got that kind of time. You know how long it takes to get 10,000 eyes checked?
Holy moly, he's flying.
He better win. We bet the farm on him.
This is unbelievable.
Racing Stripes.
See, Buzz, you look, but you don't see. I've always said that I have a keen eye.
Oh, okay. Now, who needs the eyes checked now? You get out of here so the people can see what day the movie starts. Folks, please leave a little something on the floor. Flies need love, too.
Maybe jam a milk dud under your seat so I can munch on that later.
How about the little chocolate stuff with the little white snow caps on it? You like those?
I know what you're thinking. Just bear with me, because the movie actually is a lot better than that trailer would put on here, and most of the trailers would put on here, because, yeah, it's very, kind of like with Coach Carter, it's a very generic story, where you have a story where you have this circus plain zebra, Stripes, voiced by Frankie Muniz, who's accidentally abandoned in Kentucky and raised on a farm next to a racing track. He believes that he's a racehorse, and Stripe dreams of training for and competing in the races. This would never happen in real life. The fact that they would let a zebra run in a competition that's strictly for horses only, but you know, movie logic. You just kind of go with it, and you see the cast that they have in here. You got a voice cast that also includes Frankie Muniz, Mandy Moore, Michael Clark Duncan, Jeff Foxworthy, Joshua Jackson, Joe Pantoliano, Michael Rosenbaum, Steve Harvey, and David Spade as the Flies, as you can tell, Snoop Dogg, Fred Dalton Thompson, Dustin Hoffman, Whoopi Goldberg. A live-action cast that includes Hayden Panettiere from Pre-Heroes, Bruce Greenwood, who would coincidentally be in Charlotte's Web, I think, the next year. At least I think he was in Charlotte's Web. I could have sworn he was in there, but if it's not him, it's a pretty damn good Bruce Greenwood lookalike. But also Wendy Malick and M. Walsh is in this as well. Directed by Frederick Duchow, who, I'll tell you this is probably his best overall movie as a director, because he did Quest for Camelot before this, and then Underdog after this, so yeah. Easily his best movie overall. And it also has, I think, the benefit of a script by Kirk D'Amico, who's a name you might not be familiar with, but you may have definitely seen his work before, with stuff like the Croods movies, which were... The first movie I thought was a very good. Sequel, not so much, but still pretty good. Vivo was a criminally underrated Sony Pictures movie that came out around the pandemic. It was stripped off to Netflix. And most recently, he did Ruby Gilman Teenage Cracker, which I think is a really impressive film that really did not get a whole lot of attention. And yes, this is about as much of a kid's film as you can get. A lot of jokes that are very predictable, a story that are very predictable. The jokes I should say are really not that great in general, but its heart is in the right place. It's a film that's at least trying to do something unique and impressive overall. And considering that this film didn't cost as much as you would think it would, it only cost $30 million. A movie like this feels like there should have been a much bigger budget attached to it. And yet, surprisingly, there wasn't. And there was not. It was it's really impressive what they're able to do with the small amount of money that they would have for a movie like this. Like, you would expect this to be like somewhere between up near $60+ million. I mean, it feels like that type of a film, but the fact that they kept the budget so constrained in here, and it actually looks like a film that actually feels like it should be more, I gotta give it credit for doing that. And the film isn't really that bad. It's a movie that's very much a similar film to, you know, Babe, or live-action Charlotte's Web, before we got the live-action Charlotte's Web in the next year, in 2006. And, like I said, it's a movie that is entertaining enough. It's entertaining enough for kids. I think adults can go into it and just watch it and be like, that was completely harmless. It's a very harmless movie, which, yeah, movies like this tend to be really damaging to kids in general if you pick the wrong movies, like the Alvin and the Chipmunks sequels. But this is not that type of a movie. It's a film that's at least trying. It's a film that's trying to be entertaining. But I think the kids definitely will get more enjoyment out of it. And I think the adults can get some elements of good things out of it too as well. And like I said, not the greatest movie, but certainly not as bad as it could have been. This film could have easily been a movie that the studio did not believe in and just dumped it out on this weekend because they knew how bad it was. It could have been another Good Boy, but it really is not. It's a film that's okay, nothing spectacular, but you can watch it once and you'll feel like you've gotten something out of it, honestly. So yeah, that is Racing Stripes. So let's go ahead and move on to the unholiness of the unholiest of our trilogy of films that we have this week. I don't even know why I said that. It's just random off the cuff talk right there. But this is easily the worst movie coming up here the whole weekend. And one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And that is the Daredevil spinoff, Elektra.
For centuries, those with extraordinary powers have waged a secret war for supremacy. Now, in between good and evil, stands a warrior.
Her name's Elektra.
Like the tragedy. Her parents must have had a sense of humor.
Not really.
She has mastered the skills of the past. She can read the shadows of the future.
I see what's going to happen before it happens.
She's my friend. She doesn't really know who you are.
This January.
It's about her, isn't it?
She was a prodigy from 5 years old.
You'll be better than I am very soon.
One generation must protect the next.
War's just begun.
I'm not a good person to get involved with.
I said it with Blade a couple weeks ago, and I will say it with Elektra. Thank God for Deadpool and Wolverine giving this character a purpose for existing, because, man, she really needed it after this movie came out. Nobody wanted to see anything from Daredevil anymore. And I can't blame them, because I'll tell you people something. I've been going to see movies on my own for about half a year at this point. When I saw this movie, it was the first real unpleasant movie-going experience I ever had. And it was rough. It was definitely a very rough movie, and I've had far worse experiences since then. Stuff like The Spirit, Aliens in the Attic. I had stuff with problems with The Legend of Tarzan and Oppenheimer from the people in the movie theater, but this was the first real big one right there. And it's amazing I didn't walk out of this movie. I was strong back then. I'm still strong when it comes to bad movies. I will sit through them no matter what. And even though, like this past weekend, I struggled to sit through Borderlands, but I got through it, and yeah, Borderlands is pretty bad. But this is definitely pretty bad too. So the plot of the movie here is that it's not long after recovering from seemingly mortal wounds, Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner, has severed all ties with the world, living only for her next assignment. But in an unexpected turn of events, she is forced to make a decision that could take her life in a new direction, or destroy her. Key players in Elektra's journey are Stick, played by Terrence Stamp, a blind martial arts master responsible for Elektra's resurrection, and Mark Miller, played by Goran Visnik, and Abby Miller, played by Kirsten Prow, a father and daughter on the run from the Hand, a powerful syndicate whose members practice the dark martial arts of Ninjutsu. First off, the Hand is... I didn't realize that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was actually parroting the Hand by calling them the Foot Clan. I found that out watching the Nostalgia Critic review, but that synopsis alone should describe everything that's wrong with this movie. It throws in some of the stupidest cliches in film, and I'm so sick and tired of like having a mythical spirit who has no purpose because the film has no connection with Daredevil at all. And Stick was the one who helped Daredevil become the hero he would eventually become. Plus, they throw in that stupid father-daughter plotline that really does not serve a purpose to the story whatsoever. The action sequences overall are poorly done with no sense of fear or danger by anybody in here. The story is very bad. We don't like any of these characters that this movie is trying to get us to like. And Jennifer Garner, I'm sorry, in this movie she's not Elektra. She's just not. This was clearly a poor excuse to attempt to squeeze whatever life was left out of Daredevil, and it fails miserably. Yeah, I know she was an Alias at the time. Yeah, I know she did 13 going on 30. But, man, this was a bad decision on her part. Like, you could tell that they did not give a shit about Daredevil, because in that trailer I showed you, no mention of from the forces that brought you X-Men and Daredevil. Like, they knew this movie was going to tank so badly, they didn't even want to put Daredevil's name in there. I mean, that's how bad this movie is. Yeah, it's not Catwoman bad, but man, it's definitely not a good movie. And yeah, but my biggest problem with the film itself is the main character. My biggest problem is the film itself and the main character is what I'm trying to say. And I've gone on before how, female leads are portrayed in films, and this is one of those movies where they pretend to show off a strong female hero, but is actually a poor excuse to give the character a lot of sex appeal, a lack of characters, and there's even a scene there's one scene in particular where one of the bad guys, who was a female, comes in and gives Elektra a lesbian kiss, and yeah, for no reason, because what I expect to get those 13-year-olds watching this a little hard on, which... Yeah, I realize how bad that sounds, but that's literally what they're doing in this movie. I feel like they only did that to get the PG-13 rating. I mean, that's literally... Like, it just does not make any sense whatsoever. I mean, when will... I think now Hollywood is learning that it's not hard to make a movie with a strong female lead in it. I mean, we've seen a lot of TV shows and movies do this. The Fargo movie, and TV series have done that. Some great underrated little gems. Whip It. Juno was a great movie that did that. Hannah. Even Hannah, which I didn't like, I at least gave him credit for writing a much better female character than a lot of these movies that were doing the same thing at around the time. Yeah, like, it's not that hard to make a strong female character who's on the same level of the lead male character. Hell, Ellen Ripley from the Alien movies tops the list there. I mean, but most Hollywood executives think one thing about women in films is that women are things. Just like Lee Majors says on Family Guy. What? Women are things. I mean, it's really like that. And we're getting away from that now, which I'm glad to see. But you could still see that Hollywood is living by that point when you watch shitty movies like Red Sonja, Catwoman, Sucker Punch Lucy, and especially this piece of garbage here. I mean, this is a terrible movie. The action is terrible, the story sucks, the characters are bad. This is a mess of a movie. I mean, forget Hulk, forget Howard the Duck, forget all the Marvel's movies made before 1998. This is the bottom of the barrel. This is the worst movie that Marvel has ever produced, without a doubt. It's completely pointless, unnecessary, and it's absolutely horrible. I hated it back when I saw it in theaters. I gave it time 10 years ago for a Marvelous May post I wrote. I didn't like it then. I watched it again just recently. I still fucking hate this movie so much. Avoid it like the plague, please. Avoid Elektra at all costs.
Mom says that we should be polite.
When it comes to dating their mom, these kids think no man is good enough.
I feel sorry for the next sucker who tries to put the moves on her.
But this man just may be tough enough.
Now get! Both of y'all, get!
No, you really got away with kids.
Now she's so fine.
This might not be a good idea. Rain, electricity.
Oh, but I sure do appreciate it.
To win her
over.
What's the matter?
My ex is sick and he was supposed to take the kids to the airport. I'm gonna lose my job.
He's going to do the unthinkable.
What if I bring them?
Nick, this is huge.
Uncle Nick loves kids.
They go eat you alive.
He's the enemy.
Be careful opening that door.
No!
Please remove all metal objects, keys, loose chains, cell phones, and jewelry.
Corkscrew! We decided to drive.
Here we go. Now,
Are we there yet?
No,
he's taking her kids on a little trip.
I have to pee.
you do not have to pee.
I'm sure the carpet is absorbent. Here it comes.
Incoming! Incoming!
It's about to go way too far.
Yo! How's it going with the little brats? Open up.
You just using us to suck up to our mama. Where did you go?
Now you're gonna get it!
Suzanne, I'm sure they're fine.
Revolution Studios presents
What are you doing?
a comedy about how far one man will go
Hey, how you doing, baby?
I want to say hi to the kids. I love you.
to become part of the family.
He's gentle.
Whoa! You want a piece of me?
I like him. He's kind of funny.
Ice Cube, Nia Long, Jay Moore.
I'm sorry, Nick.
There's nothing more that you can do to this car.
Are we there yet?
Hey!
I think he wants us to jump onto a moving train.
That only shows you some of the weirdness of this movie, because trust me, it gets weirder. Like, Ice Cube has this talking bobblehead voiced by Tracy Morgan and ends up becoming a part of the movie, and like a supporting character too. Like, never explain why, it's just there. And yeah, this is we thought Vin Diesel pussified himself down in 2005. He was not the only one. This is actually the first family film Ice Cube ever did, and I guess it worked out for him because it was a hit. But then again, if you have no family films out in January, and you know people are over the Christmas movies that came out, of course this is going to make a ton of money. I mean, Paul Blart Mall Cop made money around this time of the year, 4 years from now. But in this movie, you have Ice Cube playing Nick Persons, a selfish player who owns a collectible sports shop in Portland. Everything in his life is perfect until he meets Suzanne Kingston, played by Nia Long, who's a businesswoman who has something he hates: children, Lindsay and Kevin. They become friends and share good moments with each other, but his peaceful life gets altered when she asks him to drive Lindsay and Kevin to Vancouver. After they miss a plane and train, they drive. Unfortunately, Lisa, Lindsay, and Kevin hate Nick, and he has to try to make it to Vancouver, unaware of the terror and torture he's in for. So yeah, generic kids movie stuff you've seen over and over again. Directed by Brian Levant, who gave us the Flintstones, Jingle All the Way, and Snow Dogs. And believe it or not, Snow Dogs was actually a stupid movie, but a fun stupid movie on its own, is in more ways than you would think. And this is where I think the real downfall begins for him, because he never made a great movie after this again. He made two really bad Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movies. He did the same thing with Jackie Chan for The Spy Next Door. Gave us the infamously bad Christmas Story 2. Yeah. Needless to say, his downfall begins at this point going forward. And yeah, this was a hit, and it actually did eventually turn into a franchise where that deer you see in the trailer became, I guess, like the mascot character of the movie, because he shows up again in the sequel, which is kind of pointless when you really think about it. And it did lead to a TBS series, which really does not have a whole lot to do with the movie in general. And I mean, yeah, it's basically the same characters from the movie, except they're played by completely different actors. And Ice Cube very rarely shows up in the show as another character altogether. But it was around that. It's in that same category, something like The House of Pain, like the Tyler Perry shows that TBS had at the time. So, yeah, I mean, it did have a decent run overall. I think it ran for like a couple seasons, 3 seasons. So, I mean, yeah, you got to give it credit for that. But other than that, though, the movie is pretty lazy. The movie is pretty lackluster. And, you know, it just gets to a point where it's just really generic. The jokes aren't really all that funny. They're not landing as much as they should. They have these random subplots that don't really add a whole lot to anything. There's a weird subplot that gets added in by the end of the movie where they're kidnapped by a trucker that they called because they thought that they thought that they tried to make it seem like that Ice Cube's character was kidnapping them, and it's all of a sudden becomes a third act, a subplot in the third act, which really does not go anywhere of noteworthiness or importance, and it just feels absolutely unnecessary to the film in general. But then again, the whole movie feels like it's very unnecessary. The jokes are, like I said, typical kids movie fare. There's really nothing about the film in general that makes it worth it in the long run, and it's just not a fun movie, man. I've tried to watch this movie again to see if I can find anything of noteworthiness to it, and really, there's really not much there. I mean, it's a film that you take it, you see what it is, you know what you're going to get, and really, it doesn't really deliver as much as you think it's going to. It's a movie that tries to throw in the topical, not even jokes, like topical things. Like, there's one scene in the beginning of the movie where Ice Cube's character is just like, we ain't got no Digimon, no Pokemon, no SpongeBob. Like, he's naming everything that's popular at that time, and yeah, because that's what a good movie does. Instantly dates itself before it even comes out. I mean, like Digimon wasn't even that popular in 2005 anymore. That show had ended years ago. But yeah, you get my point I'm trying to make here. The movie isn't that great. It's a really lackluster film, but there was nothing else for the kids in January, so of course they went to go see it, and of course they made a sequel to it, which surprisingly it's actually based off of a failed remake they tried to do for another movie, but we'll eventually get to that one when we get to 2007 with Are We Done Yet? But yeah, Are We There Yet? Took advantage of a lackluster family film marketplace, and it reaped the benefits of it, and probably not for the best, but hey, Brian Levant's got another hit in January, so give him that, but was it worth selling your soul for that, dude? Like, honestly, because what have you done after that? Nothing of noteworthiness. So, okay, let's go ahead and move on to our last movie here, and that is the remake of John Carpenter's Assault on Precinct 13, starring Ethan Hawke and Lawrence Fishburne.
I assume you know who I am. You're a gangster. Now on DVD.
What the hell is going on?
Two enemies will team up to face the most dangerous criminals in the city. The cops. They can't allow any of us to leave here alive. Ethan Hawke. Lawrence Fishburne. Assault on Precinct 13. When this is over, you're going back to jail. I'd like to see you come try.
The story takes place on New Year's Eve inside a police station that's about to close for good. And you have an officer, Jake Ronick, played by Ethan Hawke, who has to cobble together a force made up of cops and criminals to save themselves from a mob looking to kill mobster Marion Bishop, played by Lawrence Fishburne. As I said, this is based off the 1976 movie by John Carpenter. This is actually written by James DeMonaco, who you would later know as the guy who made the Purge movies. The director of this is Jean-Francois Rysher, whose only noteworthy thing he's done after this was last year's Plane, and everyone remembers how great that movie was. I digress. But in addition to Hawke and Fishburne, you got John Leguizamo, Maria Bello, Ja Rule, Dre De Matteo, Brian Dennehy, Gabriel Byrne, and I'll give it this. It's a little bit better than I thought it was, but that doesn't mean I don't think it makes it a great film overall. I just think that it's a decent modernized version of the original John Carpenter film. Is it going to do anything to elevate this over the John Carpenter movie? No, the John Carpenter movie is always going to be the better film. But I'll give it this. It does a pretty good job of modernizing the story in general and makes it still kind of fun in general as a B movie. And yeah, it's going to have that caveat of being compared to the original film. But yeah, like I said, there's nothing really that bad about it in general. At times it can be very formulaic, but for the most part, it's a decently fun movie. Some of the action sequences are actually kind of cool. I like the main cast in general. The cast overall seems like they're having a very good time with the film, and it delivers everything it promises. I think it's a fun film overall. I'm probably going to, I wouldn't say it's a great movie in general, but I did say it's a lot better than I had any intentions of it going into it. I really wasn't expecting a whole lot from it, mostly because it's a Rogue Pictures movie. Most of their movies in general were not that great. They would have those few exceptions here and there, but I'll say this is one of those ones where I think they got it right for the most part. Is it a great movie? No. Is it a good remake? Not really, but it's a fun action movie when it needs to be, and I think it delivers just enough to recommend it for a one-time watch. If you watch it one time, I think you get enjoyment out of it, but nothing will ever top the 76 version, honestly. You can't really top what John Carpenter did, honestly, which, then again, you can't really do that with a lot of his movies, but But I digress. So that is Assault on Precinct 13.
He thought Charlie was his daughter's imaginary friend.
Plus she gets a little shy around new faces. You gonna say hi?
Until people started dying.
Where is Charlie?
He just left.
On January 28th.
Neighbor called, so there's a problem.
If you want to know the secret,
Emily!
You have to play the game. Hide and seek. This film is not yet rated. January 28th.
God, Robert De Niro made some pretty bad movies around this time. Godsend, Shark Tale, now Hide and Seek. Thank God we're going to have him in a much better movie coming up a little bit later in the show. But this is Hide and Seek, the psychological thriller with De Niro and Dakota Fanning, in which you have Fanning as a young girl who's, after her mother commits suicide in the bathtub, is taken to live upstate in her new surroundings to forget her traumatic past. And a psychologist named David, her father, played by De Niro, learns that his daughter has a new friend, the enigmatic, never-to-be-seen, imaginary or not, Charlie. A deadly game of hide and seek ensues. Who is Charlie, and what is troubling David in his dreams? Imagine the recently released movie Imaginary, but even stupider. And Imaginary was a stupid movie, but man, this takes the cake. And yeah, just to tell you how bad this movie is, they shot 5 different endings for this movie. And they purposefully didn't send them the final reel to the theaters. 20th Century Fox didn't do that because they didn't want people to spoil the ending of the movie. So basically, you were going into the movie getting a different alternate ending. This isn't like with Clue, where the 85 Clue movie, where they literally tell you in the commercials that you're gonna, no matter which screen, you're gonna see a different ending, whichever theater screen you go to. But this is a completely different thing, because each one had at least the 3 different endings, and then eventually those all came together in the home video release of the movie. But that's not what this is doing. This is a movie that is literally telling you, we did not know how to end this, so here's 5 different endings to this movie. Make up your own mind about what you want to do, because we clearly don't want to give it to you anymore. It's like choose your own adventure, and not in a good way. If a movie can't figure out what ending they want to go with here, and they just have to do 5 different ones to be like, choose your own ending, we don't give a shit anymore, that's not a good sign for this movie. And it's a shame, because there's people who are trying. Everybody in here is a pretty good actor. I mean, this has more of a stacked cast than this movie type of film should have. Robert De Niro, like I said, Dakota Fanning, Famke Janssen, Elizabeth Shue, Amy Irving, Dylan Baker, Melissa Leo, Robert John Burke. A good cast in general here, but it's not a good sign if you don't even know how the hell you're going to end this movie. And, you know, it's the dumping month of January, which means that there's nothing else out there. So, of course, we'll go and see this movie and make it a hit. And it was a hit. It made over $127 million off of a $25 million budget. So, there is at least that. I guess in the end, Fox won. But did they really win? I mean, really. If you have to have 5 different endings for this movie, you really have no idea what you're doing, because you don't even know how to end your movie. You don't even have a purpose for your movie to even exist. There's like a subplot. There's like one of the endings is if this girl Dakota Fanning is playing has this dissociative identity disorder. There's an ending where she doesn't have it. There's one where she's in a psychiatric ward. There's one where you think she's in a psychiatric ward and you don't have her in the countdown. There's one you think it's in a psychiatric ward, but it turns out that no, it's actually a new home for her. Like, they had no idea how to end this movie. And it would be I mean, I'd give it a pass if the rest of the film in general was good. But no, there's nothing good about this whatsoever. The scares are about as formulaic as you can get. There's no tension. There's no thrill factor. There's nothing of value to this movie whatsoever that makes it tolerable or watchable. It's just a mess of a movie. It's just a terrible, terrible movie. It perfectly fits into the month of January, and with the dumping month. But yeah, it's not a good movie in general. But it certainly kicks the crap out of the next movie we have here, Uwe Boll's infamous Alone in the Dark.
Hello? It's happening again.
I don't believe it. To track down an ancient evil, they have been trained to hunt it. Equipped to kill it.
It's just the beginning.
Now, they just have to survive it.
Christian Bale and Stephen Dorff are the biggest stars of the movie. Man, this would have been great in 1995. It would have been a hit, but not in 2005 when these two had clearly not done anything of importance since then. Oh, and Tara Reid's in here because she's playing an archaeologist, and you can tell she's an archaeologist because she wears glasses and has her hair in a ponytail. And, you know, that's the clear sign that she's a smart woman, and we just don't want to disguise the fact that she's also a hot woman as well. You know, it's the Transformers: The Last Night method with the actress who plays Quill's mother in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. In that movie, she had the same thing. Or even on TV, when you watch Gutfeld and you see Kat Tor, it feels like they're not as smart as you think they are, but just because they're wearing they're wearing glasses and the ponytail and they're hot, that's just the excuse that we need to say that these people are smart, and they're not really smart in general. And this, just like this movie, is not smart. I mean, it's Uwe Boll doing what Uwe Boll does best, making a terrible movie, knowing that it's a bad movie, but it's okay. It will make money, but it's more than okay because it's a tax write-off for Germany. It's for Germany, I think it is. I think wasn't that the tax write-off for Germany? Because this was not a big hit. This was not a hit at all. It bombed pretty hard at the box office, but it made its money through video because everyone wanted to see how stupid it was. But I could have sworn that he made these movies essentially for tax write-offs, and it didn't really hurt him in the long run. But yeah, it didn't hurt him in the long run, but it hurt people who went to go see these movies and were suckered into it. I mean, at least House of the Dead I can understand. Even though that wasn't a great movie in general, I can understand where the source material was coming from, but this has nothing to do with Alone in the Dark at all. There's nothing of value here. The creature effects are terrible. It's a poorly written film. It rips off so many other movies, The Evil Dead, you know, just, it's a bad movie. Like, Hide and Seek is a bad movie, but Hide and Seek had at least a good cast to it. An idea was there. They just wanted to make a movie so they can make it off of it because the video game was popular. And, you know, hey, Resident Evil was popular, and we could sucker people in with this. And, yeah, this is what we get. This is what we get. A really terrible movie that could be seen as a so bad it's good type of movie, but I don't know. I'm not the type of person that gets into stuff like that. But yeah, it's, for some it's a guilty pleasure. For me, it's just a terrible movie. So, yeah. Needless to say, avoid Alone in the Dark like the plague. So let's go ahead and move on to some better movies. Let's start off with the James Cameron documentary, Aliens of the Deep.
That's incredible. By the clues to life in our universe. In order to find life in an ocean on another world, we have to continue the journey here. Join Academy Award-winning director James Cameron for a once-in-a-lifetime 3D journey.
Use Earth as a training ground for going to another planet.
Aliens of the Deep in IMAX 3D theaters. Directed by James Cameron and Stephen Quayle. Rated G. Starts January 28th.
So kind of like with James Cameron's other documentary he made for Disney, Ghost of the Abyss, you have him teaming up with NASA scientists to explore the mid-ocean ridges, submerged chains of mountains in the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans that are home to some of the planet's most unusual forms of life. And, you know, he joins up with a Russian research vessel, and it's very similar to Ghost of the Abyss, which involved him journeying to the wreck of the Titanic, and they use IMAX 3D to present the feeling that you're actually there. And again, kind of like with Ghost of the Abyss, this would have been kind of cool to see on a big screen like that, to see how immersive this really can really be, because it does look very pretty, and it does look like a very engaging film in general that can also be very informational, too. Like, who says that you can't be entertained while also be educated? And that's what I like about Ghost of the Abyss, and I like what I see here from this movie. It's a good idea in general. Maybe not as good as Ghost of the Abyss is, but on a visual and technical level, it's really impressive to look at overall. It's a very enjoyable film, a fun film in general, and one that I would definitely recommend checking out. It's one that probably would be best if you had like a fancy high-def HD television, like a 3D television, to really appreciate the magnitude of this. But from what I saw from it when I watched it the first time, I did enjoy it a lot. So yeah, let's get to the last movie we have here, a much better Robert De Niro movie that came out this weekend, and it's a classic, and that is Raging Bull.
Raging Bull. To them, he was the Bronx Destroyer, the Raging Bull. To her, the Raging Lover, filled with passion and jealousy. Robert De Niro is the Raging Bull.
I didn't do it.
He loved to win. He hated to lose. Raging Bull. When he lost it all.
I guess they were just calling it the Raging Bull. Everybody, not just Sally Field at the Oscars, but also that trailer in general. That is not a good trailer that I found there. It's very hard to actually find a trailer for it, honestly, except for the main theatrical trailer. But, MGM is very strict about using their clips in general. That's one of those people that I always get a copyright claim from. So I tried to find some TV spots. I couldn't find any in particular, but so yeah, this is of course Raging Bull, celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, so MGM decides to release it in theaters. It follows the career of Jake LaMotta, who's played by Robert De Niro, and his rise and fall in the boxing scene and his turbulent personal life beset by rage and jealousy, which includes Kathleen Moriarty, Joe Pesci, Frank Vincent, and Nicholas Cole-Santo from Cheers in his final film role. And the movie really is good. It's definitely one of Martin Scorsese's greatest movies. It's a film that is really impressive and, shows off the greatness of what Scorsese and De Niro can do together. They made a lot of great movies together. This is definitely one of their stronger movies. The black and white aspect, I think, works very well to the movie. I don't think this could have worked with a color scheme in general. I think this had to be in black and white, and they do a very good job of creating the intensity and the tension of these boxing scenes, as well as creating great characters in De Niro and Joe Pesci's characters, and Jake LaMotta and who's Pesci? Joey and his brother Joey LaMotta. Great script by Paul Schrader and Modric Martin. Great cinematography by Michael Chapman. Some great music by where's the music at? I don't remember. I say it's great music, and I don't remember who did the score for it. I'm sure I can find. It's got to be here somewhere. Maybe there wasn't a score. Maybe there wasn't a composer for it. That's very rare because most of the songs that they used in the movie were, Martin Scorsese essentially decided to go for a soundtrack made of music that was popular at the time, using his collection of 78s, and there was no score from his composer here in general. And I could have sworn there was somebody else they're involved in it, but I guess not. So I forget what I said about the music, even though the music in here is really good, but yeah, there was no credited score as composer for this. What's most interesting about this particular movie that I found out was that it actually it wasn't even that big of a hit, both critically or financially. I mean, it made back its budget, and it also was a decently reviewed film, but it got mostly mixed reviews when it came out, which makes it even more impressive that De Niro won the Oscar, and the editing was really acclaimed for it, and ended up winning those two Oscars for Best Actor and Best Editing. But, yeah, it's impressive to think about. And think about this. It's a mixed-reviewed film, and yet it got 8 Academy Awards back then. This just shows you how much we've changed in terms of film criticism back then, because even a movie that got mixed reviews back then could still get a lot of heavy praise from the Oscars in general and be up for, these big awards. And, of course, it has gone on to become one of the greatest films ever made. It was actually selected by many people as the best movie of the 1980s, most notably Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, and you can't really argue that. I mean, it's a movie that really is great to watch. On a visual scale, on an acting scale, on a story scale. It's just an incredible movie. One that I can't recommend enough. It's definitely one of Martin Scorsese's best movies. Raging Bull. What more can you say? But it's a classic movie and one you should be definitely checking out.